It's not often that Heather and I don't agree on something. So, in today's episode, we are going to have a knockdown, drag out fight. Okay, not really. We're going to have a discussion about something we have differing views on and how we came to those differing views and really what our thoughts have to do about all of it. So, stay tuned. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Hair of the Dog podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Begley. And today, I've got back my favorite, Heather Lahtinen, is in the house. However, we are going to be throwing down today because we have very differing views on this subject.
Oh, this is going to be so interesting because you and I have so many things in common and we approach business in a very similar fashion. And I would say 98.9% of the time, we're on the same page and we're totally in sync. But occasionally there are things where we're like, no, no, that's no, no.
Like, you're just wrong. No, the part that I wanted to talk about this for is also because it goes deeper, like everything else. The feelings that I have towards this and the feelings that Heather has towards this have to do with our thoughts about this. And it actually has nothing to do with other people's thoughts about it. It's my own thoughts that are making me want to have this particular view of it. And also assuming that others are going to have the same thoughts that I do.
I love that we're having this discussion publicly because we've talked about this in private. And you're so awesome that like when we have this conversation and we disagree, you're like, "Well, here are my thoughts about it." And I'm like, "Yeah, that actually makes sense why you think that." And then I tell you my thoughts and you're like, "Yeah, that makes sense as well." So it's all in a very friendly, like understanding manner. Like, "Oh, I could see why
Uh-huh.
you approach it that way." It's all very respectful, and that's one thing I love about our relationship is even when we disagree, it's rare, but even when we do, we're like, "Oh yeah, no, that's cool. It makes sense."
Maybe we should invite some politicians to listen to this so that they can actually, I don't know, talk to each other and see different points of view and say, I get that. I get that. Let's figure out something that works for everyone. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, can you imagine that? How much easier it would be? But people have asked me a couple of times, and we've talked about this previously about how you and I work together in such a harmonious
Hmm.
fashion. And that's because I believe we are both really good at emotional regulation. Like,
Hmm.
neither one of us is super sensitive or has a lot of runaway thoughts. So, we're both really good at mind management and then emotional regulation, which means, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this, but we can actually disagree like adults or like
Yeah.
responsible
Well,
adults.
yes, because you neither one of us take what the other person says as meaning something about ourselves. Which is really easy to do. I mean, this is how it happens. I think, think about any time where you've been in maybe a situation where you started to get frustrated. And this could be something at home, this could be something in business, this could be something, at work if you're still working 9 to 5. Like, what situation like causes you sometimes to get like a little bit frustrated? You start to like amp up that little bit of like, and oftentimes it is just us projecting these different thoughts of what we're thinking about the situation and where it's going to go and all of these pieces, where a lot of times these kinds of um, experiences can be avoided if we can just sit for a minute and be like, let me just see what this other person's points of view. Let's just see what it is without any judgment. And their point of view means absolutely nothing about mine. Like, I don't have to change mine. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to like say, yes, you're right, no, you're wrong. Like, I am just going to sit down and shut up and see why they are thinking that. And if you don't understand, say, why do you feel that way? Like, I'm going to get curious about their point of view. And again, I don't have to do anything with it. I don't have to change. I don't have to agree. But can you get curious about somebody else's point of view? And this works really well as well when we have an upset client. If an upset client comes to us and they're like, I'm really mad because this photo didn't come up the way that I expected it to. Like our knee jerk reaction is be like, I saw it and it was great. And what the hell? Where meanwhile we could be like, okay, let me take myself out of this. This has nothing to do with me right now, even though it's my business and they're talking about something I created personally for them. And I have a whole bunch of personal stuff wrapped up in this. Can I take myself out of that for a minute and say, what exactly what exactly is not up to par with this? Like, what exactly are you upset about? How can I fix this? Like, just asking them, what exactly were you expecting? What exactly is not up to your expectation? Okay, and then you can educate, you could fix it, you have options, but you're starting to understand their point of view. And maybe it's just like, oh, I'm really mad because I can't hang it on the wall. And it's like, oh, well, you just need these special hangers. Okay, great. Everybody's happy.
It could be something so simple. I love that you're using the logical approach here. And so the logic is like, no, what's actually going on, and getting really curious and understanding. And I think when someone is upset, like if a photographer is upset because a client is upset, or somebody thinks differently than you, you feel threatened. And when you feel
Mm-hmm.
threatened or your identity is questioned, you tend to have an emotional response. And like you said, you get amped up and you react to that. But you also have to recognize that you are seeing the world through your own lens and your own perspective and your own crap and your own
Mm-hmm.
stories and everything that comes along with it. And like you said, you can keep that. Like you don't have to change. But if you're not threatened, like I'm not threatened. This is so that makes me laugh even thinking about it, especially when we get into what we're talking about. Like, I'm not threatened by how you view this situation. Like, that's
People are like,
great.
oh my God, what are they going to be talking
Yeah,
about?
you better get into it. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So it is not like, climate change or global warming. It's not like some big heavy thing that we're like, oh my gosh, there's like some all sorts of, charged emotions on both sides. We're talking about whether photographers should have a tip line on their Square invoice when people pay them.
What? A tip line. So tip meaning, did you know that tip is actually an acronym? Did you know this?
No?
Yeah. So a tip, like if you think about it, the restaurant situation is to ensure promptness.
Really?
Yeah, tip to ensure promptness. So, you know, tipping has we had this discussion, I forget where it was in one of our groups, we were talking about this. This is how this came up. And this is also how Nicole and I discovered we had different approaches to this, because my thought was like, if somebody wants to give you money, let them, like straight up, super simple.
Mhm.
But it was more a question of like, should it be on the invoice? Should you
Mhm.
have a line? Because to the counter argument of that, people are saying like, this
My
tipping.
well, this is my perspective
Oh,
is
well, say it.
I don't want ever my clients to feel expected to
Mm,
tip,
mm.
because this comes from my own views of everywhere you freaking turn around now,
That's it.
there's a tip line. And there's this weird place where it's like, I was in the service industry, like, I was a server for many years, so, like, I get it. I got paid, like, $2 an hour to work in the restaurant, like, all of my money was made in tips. I am, like, the best restaurant client because I get it, and I want to tip great service, but I get frustrated when it's, like, expected for
Mm,
something that is, like, well, no, you just took my order and put the cookie in the box. Like, you didn't, there was no extra service. Like,
mm,
it feels to me that, like, every place you go now, it's expected. And the part that really makes me uncomfortable, again, all my projections, is when you go somewhere and you're like, wait, am I supposed to tip here or not? Like,
mm,
for instance, you're like checking into a hotel and it's like, okay, like, all right, I know like the bell person's going to take my stuff to my room. I should give them like $1 a bag or this or that, like, but there's different situations where sometimes you find yourself in, maybe you've never been to get a massage and you're like, am I supposed to tip my masseuse? Oh my gosh, how much? For instance, this was when we went to Belize. We talked about my crazy Belize trip where the house canceled on us, and we were just like, whatever, fine. So we were going with three other families. So a couple nights, we end up getting a chef to come in and cook for us because you guys, when you have a big group, it's actually the same price, if not even a little bit less, to have somebody come cook for you in your home than to go out to a restaurant and you still get to enjoy the beautiful home you're in. So awesome. But then there's the like, wait, do I tip this person? What's the expected tip? How much? And then like it goes into me of this whole like, I want to be generous. I want to give them the right tip, but I also don't want to like pay more than I need to pay, you know? So it's like this like weird place where I'm just like, ah, and I don't ever want my clients to feel that. So therefore,
Oh,
I am strongly in the no. Like if they want to tip you, they will tip you. Like I've still had clients that have given me a card when they pick up their stuff and there's $100 cash in it. Like they'll still tip me if they want me to tip me, but I'm not wanting to make them feel that it's expected.
okay. But you're making an assumption
Oh, I'm
here.
making a lot of assumptions, and I recognize that. I receive that. Like, I know it's all about me, and I know that other people will have totally different views, but I know that some people will have the same views as me, and for those people, I'm just like,
Okay, you're trying to identify with.
mhm.
Okay, tell me what you think the biggest assumption here is.
Oh, that people would feel as conflicted and as I am with the tip, and therefore I don't want them, which again is conflicted. It's not necessarily like I'm not judging the business that had the thing. I'm just like conflicted. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? But that's a negative feeling for me where I want everything about my experience to be like easy and fun and just like,
Super positive.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. But you're assuming, and yes, I would agree with you. The assumption is like if the line is on the
Uh huh.
invoice, they're going to the client is
Uh huh.
going to feel that it is expected.
Yes. Or yeah, they might potentially feel that it's expected.
Oh, well, that's the
And
first time you said the word might
oh yeah.
because previously it
Yeah,
was
yeah. No, I get it. I get it. I don't want them to feel that it's expected, especially after, I mean, they've just spent several thousand
yes.
dollars, you know.
So, which is fair. I think that is a conscientious business decision on your part to think,
Mhm.
I don't want my client to feel like this is expected, so I'm
Mhm.
just not going to put it on there. And you're coming at it from your experience,
Yeah.
which is why it makes sense.
Yeah, and part of the other reason is too, like when I look at my client experience, I purposely don't want to nickel and dime my clients.
Mm.
Like I have like this price for my classic wall art and this price for my signature wall art, and it includes anything you want. Like we're not going to be like, okay, and it's 10% extra for this. Oh, and if you want acrylic, that's an extra charge, and this is an extra charge. Like there are no extra charges. Like it is, this is the price, this is what you can expect to pay. It is all included, like high service. So that felt like a disconnect for me too with the brand experience that I want to create.
I'm with you 100% on this. When I had my wedding business, I had one rate. It was really freaking high.
Mhm.
And that was it. Everything was included. And my thought was, I never want to nickel and dime my client. I don't want to surprise them. I want this to be easy and simple. And here's the price, and you pay it, and it's done. So this is so interesting. Watch this. We agree on that. We
Right.
are
Yeah.
100% in
Uh-huh.
line.
Yep.
However, you are extending that and you are making the assumption that adding a tip line is nickel and diming. I have the exact opposite thought.
Mhm.
And
What's your thought?
because of that, I don't feel that the tip line is nickel and diming. We both
Okay.
don't
Tell me
like
more.
nickel
Yeah,
and
tell me more about your tip line. Go for it. Like
okay.
what's your thought about the tip line?
So I will say, in all fairness, is that this was not an option that was available to me
Yeah,
when
no.
I
Same. Yeah,
so
right.
so I never had to actually make this decision. And over the course of my tenure, I did receive a few really nice tips, but it certainly was not on a regular basis. So okay. That being said, when I first saw the question posed, I was like, oh my gosh, instantly, yes, of course I would have a tip line because I want to give people the opportunity if they so desire, to give me more money. If somebody wants to give me more money, I will always give them the way to execute that. Like that will always be available. I don't expect it, but here's the thing. Because I don't expect it, it doesn't even occur to me to think that they would feel it was expected. Like the thoughts that you have
Mhm. Oh, I
actually
know. They're
never
my thoughts.
never
Yeah.
crossed my mind. But here so it again, this all makes sense. Because I didn't have those thoughts, it didn't even occur to me, like, it wouldn't occur to me to not put that tip line. Like,
Right.
I would just put it because I would think, "Oh, if you wanna give me more money, then here's the opportunity to do so," and I don't expect it, and it's just there, so I didn't feel like that would be nickel and diming or putting pressure on them because I didn't have any thoughts about what that would mean. I will agree with you, everywhere I go we got ice cream the other evening, and there's a thing for tips, and I'm like, "You thank you for handing me my ice cream cone. That is, like, so nice, and I am so grateful." Like, and sometimes I do tip and sometimes I don't. And it's sort of random as to whether or not I do, but I get what you're saying that, like, it feels like it's everywhere and that everybody's expecting it, so it gets, like, a little bit annoying, and you don't wanna be annoying.
Right. Yes. Yep.
So, you just eliminate all possibility, but I just wonder if you're then blocking somebody's ability who actually wants to do something nice for you.
Although, here's my thought. My thought is if my clients want to tip me or give me something bonus, they will because many of them do.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
I've
whether
received
it's like
gifts and
I get
right.
gifts or a card with cash or like none of it's expected obviously. Um so that's where I my belief is like I don't need to put this on here and potentially cause someone to feel like angst where if they want to give me something else, they certainly can and will.
You're also oh my gosh, I can't stop. You're also assuming that by putting that line there that you are responsible for someone else's angst.
Well, yeah, uh-huh.
But you're not because
Well, I know
they
it's
have
because their thoughts.
thoughts.
I know,
That's
I
their
know.
model. Like,
Uh,
if somebody has thoughts about that line, then
but
yeah, they
they have not been listening to you, Heather, and their thoughts from that line, they are going to like, they are going to go
that's
back to
true.
classically condition of like, "Oh, I had that thought at this time, and I was doing this thing, so it's obviously her fault."
That's true. That's fair enough. They all need to go through my training so they understand that your thoughts create your own feelings. But no, seriously, if you just look at this like in a bigger picture, when I start to worry about how a client or someone is going to feel by an action that I take, like I'm speaking in
Mhm,
general terms now.
mhm.
If I worry about that, it can be debilitating
Oh, yes.
because
Well,
you won't take action.
and also, you could take the wrong action if you are, for instance, trying to figure out what to price your digital files and you know profitability wise they need to be $2,000, but you're like, I don't want my clients to feel like I am overcharging them on these digital files. So I better only charge like $300.
There it is. So
So
good.
that's the same thing as
Yes.
this, but in this tip case, it is not actually affecting the profitability of my business. Where if you allow these types of things to rule your decision making, they can be an issue. So, one way to figure that out, I think, is looking at this like, all right, I'm looking at this tip. And if I made that decision solely on I don't like how it could potentially feel to a client. That's not the best way. If I instead look at it and say, my experience is built around luxury and service and not nickel and diming, okay, then I can make a decision that's in line with that, not a decision that is out of the thought that I had.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you have potential thoughts about potential thinking about the tip. So you're not willing it's not worth the risk to you to put it on there.
Yeah, but then when I think about it more, I see it more aligned, not having it more aligned with the type of business that I want to the
Yes.
experience that I want to create.
Yes, which means that your values, like, led the way, essentially,
Mhm.
illuminated this topic for you and said, "No," it's like it was very clear for you, like, "No, I wouldn't do that because of these reasons, and there's this slight risk that somebody might,
Mhm.
so I just don't even."
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
this is interesting though
but
because when we first talked about this, I was like a hell no. But now that I've thought about it a little bit more, there are situations I'm a hell no still in my business right now. With what my business looks like and the experience that I deliver for my clients is still a hell no for me. But I just did that pricing podcast recently, how people are at different levels in their business sometimes, where, you're maybe doing the all inclusive, couple $100s to get clients in the door, get some experience, getting used to this versus like the bread and butter $2,000 to $3,000 sales and then the higher end luxury experiences. If you are in that, like, if I, Lisa, I'll put this back on me. If
Mm,
I were in the all inclusive, I would have the tip line there because it is more of a I don't know, I'm not at that luxury higher level, like, there's a distinction to the business experience, the client experience there, where I think if I was running more of that high volume, lower price that I would add that on there.
interesting, because there's
Mhm.
a different thought.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
which
the
I'm not
thought
even sure what that different thought is. It
yeah,
feels different to me.
I would love to know. What is the difference in the thought between yeah,
I
yeah,
got it.
okay,
The thought is, "Oh my god, these people have already invested so much
there it
money.
is.
I can't possibly ask them for more," versus like, "Hey, these people are getting a deal. Yeah, you can pay me some more, great."
Okay, this is fascinating what we are uncovering here. Is
Uh-huh,
it just possible hey, look, I'm just asking. Is it possible that because you think, say, a $5,000 sale,
uh-huh,
$10,000 sale is a lot of money and you
uh-huh.
shouldn't be asking these people for more money?
Ding, ding, ding. It's my upper limit of what is a reasonable sale or
What's a
like
lot?
yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's my limit because again, if you look at like everyone's limits of like some people might think, a $20 steak's expensive where somebody else is like, no, $200, like the money's just a number. What is a lot is different for everyone.
So interesting. So if they
Uh-huh.
give me $5,000 for, something they wanted to purchase,
Uh-huh.
your thought is they've already paid me so much money, they shouldn't have to pay me anymore. That's already
I
so
know I don't want them to feel expected to pay me
okay.
anymore.
All right.
Whereas if it's like, "Oh, you pay me a couple $100, yeah, I don't mind if you feel
Then
a
they
little
better give me
expected
more.
to give me a little extra."
Isn't that so interesting?
Uh-huh.
Huh. What do you think in light of this slightly new perspective on these thoughts?
Oh, I just think our thoughts are very complicated and everyone needs a Heather.
Yeah, for real. It is very interesting to get to the core root of the thought
Mhm.
because I'm sitting over here thinking I'm always worth more.
Mm.
I'm
Even
thinking,
if would you have that on there if you had a $20,000 wedding?
"Oh my gosh,
$50,000 wedding?
100% yes," without hesitation.
Interesting.
And again, but I don't have the thought that that they should or they feel like they need to
Yeah,
or
yeah,
that
right,
it's
right, right.
expected,
Yeah.
like, I didn't have
Yeah.
that thought. But also, if somebody really values your service to the degree that they want to pay you more than you ask,
Uh-huh.
uh, really, my only thought, this is so basic, is just let them.
Yeah. Right.
Like, okay, so let me give you an example. I took Evan to get his hair cut recently to, this local friend that we have. Oh, super great woman. Beautiful little shop in the community. I've known her my whole life. So, 40 something years. And, this was our first time going to her, and she did a beautiful job on his hair, and he's super picky. And I said, "How much is it?" And she said $15. And I was like I looked at her with this, like, blank look, and I'm very dramatic, and she knows me, so and I'm like, "Donna, for real?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I think if I'm okay, I can't remember what the first check I wrote. She doesn't take anything but cash and checks, and I didn't have any cash. I wanna say I wrote the check for $45. Maybe 30, at least double. I at
Mhm.
least doubled, if not tripled, what she asked for, and that's what I wrote the check and I didn't say anything. I just wrote the check and actually folded it up a couple of times and handed it to her and said, "Thank you," and split. Like, didn't wait for her to look at it or anything, just like I paid her more than double what she asked because I found the value in it, and I
Mhm.
liked the experience, and Evan was happy, which to me is priceless because the kid is so picky. So, like, okay, you could argue, well, that's a low dollar amount. Well, okay, maybe, but I wonder what she thought when she looked at that check. Like,
Mhm.
somebody's willing to pay me double? And I've said to her since then, like, "Donna, please, I beg of you to raise your prices." And she said, Heather, I just have I have this group of older people in the community that are used to paying. One of them is my mother, actually, and my dad. And I said, well, if you feel good about it, you could grandfather them in and you could, continue to charge them the same price. But for anyone under the age of 75, I don't know, you could institute some new pricing. And she just doesn't see the value in what she does the same way I
Mm.
do,
Mhm.
which is interesting.
Which is what it all comes down to is
Mhm.
our self-worth and what we are perceiving as worth it.
But here's the thing, Nicole, then we make decisions based on our perceptions of our value and our worth, and these decisions are not always the best. They're not always, well guided, let's say. I think
Mhm.
they're well intended, but they're not always because if you're making a decision based on, fear or the risk or what people might think or all of these other factors, I just ask myself, do good decisions come from those emotions?
Right? No.
No. No, never. So where does a good decision come from? Well, it comes from feeling certain. Okay, what would I need to think or believe in order to feel certain? I don't know about adding the tip line. I don't know. Just put it,
Right.
I'm not going to make you do it. You don't have to add the tip line.
Yeah, no, like, yeah, for the actual tip line, you guys, there's no right or wrong. It just really depends what you wanna do in your business. So, like,
Whatever.
but make the decision not from the thoughts, but instead from, like, looking at your client experience a little bit more and then also uncovering what those thoughts are that might be leading you down different thoughts on that client experience. I think what you need to do is join Elevate and ask Heather how to coach you through this on a call.
Get some coaching. Yeah, if you come into Elevate, did you know you get lifelines inside of Elevate so you can talk to me privately one-on-one. You also have the ability to get on the coaching calls with me twice a month, with Jessica once a month, and ask us these questions directly. You could say, "Hey, I'm having this inner conflict about whether or not to put a tip line or to even accept tips." And
Mhm.
then what I can do is just ask you some questions to help you uncover the feelings or the thoughts that are driving the feelings that are leading you to make the decision to not allow tipping. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Really important. Like Nicole said, you can do whatever you want. I just want you to love your reasons. You
Mhm.
know, like you love your reasons. And if
Mhm.
you love your reasons and it feels good to you and appropriate, by all means, continue doing what you're doing. But if you uncover a thought or a reason that's like, oh, that's not a very good reason to not do that, then I just want you to question it. I just want
Mhm.
you to question your thoughts. That's all.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Well, this has been fantastic. Let us know on social, guys. At Flourish. Is it Flourish Academy or Flourish.academy on your Instagram?
Well, if you look for me on Instagram, you can just search for Flourish Academy. That's
One word.
the
Okay.
yep,
Yep.
yep.
And then at Nicole Begley Official on Instagram. Let us know. Are you guys pro tip? No tip? Where do you fall on this? It's like I don't know, they have all those it's like the dress, remember, it was like the blue or
Yes.
gray or the shoes or pink or
Yes.
gray or whatever.
With
Like,
shoes.
I
Yeah.
wanna know, you guys, are you pro tip, no tip? Like, let
And your
us
reasons.
know, and the reasons why. I would love to know, if anyone else out there feeling the same way that I do of the expectations.
Yeah. That you I
That
just
will
like
then feed my thoughts of like,
yeah.
see, I told you. See, Heather, look, they're out there."
No, I know. She's just trying to prove it. So we need I'm trying to remember on that thread. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was pretty equal, wasn't it? Like some people
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah, I think
yeah,
so. Yeah.
like yeah, they would do it. No, they wouldn't.
Uh-huh.
But,
Well,
just
yeah, we'd love to know your reasons.
yeah. I would just want you to also question your assumptions. Like
Mhm,
Nicole is saying that if she puts it on there, people will feel like it's expected.
mhm.
And I'm like, this is all really? That's all I have to say about that. Really? Are you sure?
Everyone?
Everyone? All the time?
Well, obviously, no, Heather.
Okay. Just love
Oh
your
my
reasons.
goodness. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. A lot of fun to record. And yeah, when we started having this little conversation on Voxer, we're like, oh my gosh, we got to bring this one to the podcast because it is good. So
So good.
yeah, go uncover those thoughts. Make your decisions for your business based on what experience you want in your business, and be careful that you're not making them on those thoughts.
Mm.
So yeah, let's make sure that we're making decisions that support us and yeah, support our business.
Thank you.
Of course. Thanks for being here, Heather. We will see you guys next week. And if you guys want more information on the Elevate, just go to www.hairofthedogacademy.com/elevate.